Department Heaven, a series of games that are made by Sting, with the latest release being in June 23rd, 2011 with Glory Union, which technically isn't even part of the series. A series with original online games only has 4 released. Episode 1, Riviera of the Promised Land. Episode 2, Igdra Union. Episode 4, Nights in the Nightmare.
I can't figure it out! How do you dodge it?
No.
How do you dodge that? How do you dodge that?
And Episode 9, Gunnier. Wait, what happened to Episode 3, 5, 6, 7, and 8?
No name or information has been revealed on episode.
Yeah, so far these games already look crazy enough, but I'm just gonna review them and tell you the myopia of reasons these games will crush your brain and why you should play it.
This was a mistake.
This is Lada and this is Ein. Grim angels, which are basically just demon exterminators, but they have to give up something in order to become angels. Ein lost his wings, so that's why it's a suspiciously good tactic to hang out with normal people, while Lada doesn't want to say it because personal matters are at hand. Did I mention that the writing in this game specifically is barbaric? In combat, you're only allowed to bring 4 items. 4 items. Oh, and they can break too. Most items have around 30 uses unless there's something that isn't a weapon. And the amount of attacks they can do can fill up this overdrive bar. The enemies also have an overdrive bar as well. And Jesus Christ, do they absolutely hammer you with full power attacks. Thankfully, in the beginning of the part of the game, you get Lada, which...
Well, that was the start of a hardening heart, and that was the sound of mouse leaving the ground with something that sound like a sudden attack, and the parasite knew that things would never be the same. See, you taught me to swim, you taught me to fly, you taught me to love, you taught me to cry, but beyond and above, I cannot deny that I'm a parasite, yeah, that'll never change. A lowly parasite, forever ugly and strange. A lowly parasite, and so the parasite swam to the depths of the sea. I want that.
Yeah, he breaks that bar. The game recommends you to not attack most of the time because attacking the enemies charges up their overdrive meter, but most of the time that just straight up doesn't happen because the enemies also power up their overdrive meter by attacking you as well. So that doesn't really work out. What if I told you that you also get graded on how you did your battles? Depending on how many times you got hit and how you finished the fight, the grade that you get impacts your TP. What is TP, you might ask? The amount of actions that you can take. Let me explain. Okay, so there's 2 different types of modes, move mode and look mode. Move mode is just transferring from one mode to the other, but look mode is where you actually get to identify objects. Sometimes the things you identify can give you a treasure or a power-up, or sometimes they can just give you a trap. And using this wastes some TP. And since in this game there's no random encounter system, so you can't grind for TP, you can permanently miss all kinds of treasure just because there wasn't enough enemies or because you didn't play the game well enough. Dog go on to the top of the tower to find Hector trying to move on to the next area, but then a woman named Ursula summons a bird, dragon, thing to try and stop you because, you know what? You're actually in the wrong. And since it's the beginning of the game, you're set up so you suck and the dog can't die.
Judgment has been passed.
Is this considered animal abuse? Oh yeah, skills. Okay, so depending on what character you're using it on, some weapons can actually be used as a personal effect, and using the weapon enough times can make you get a skill, which basically just allows you to use the overdrive bar. Also, it's the only way to get stronger. So if you suck getting TP in the game, you better hope to God that you're gonna survive during the end game. Okay, let's get off for a second. The 1-1 and GBA versions didn't have voice acting, but the PSP version does. And what did you think?
Grim angels, servants of the gods.
Hector!
And stuff like...
Oh, Ein! You're okay! I was so worried about you! Huh? Who am I? You forgot? All these nights we spent together!
After they beat that boss, Lada almost kills Ursula, but then Ursula kidnaps Ein and tells him the truth, also erasing his memory and sending him to Alendia. When Ein wakes up, he wakes up to Fia and Lena, 2 new party members who Or just essentially just for shipping fuel.
Also, this is how the Wonder Swan version looked.
Yeah, apparently there's a dating sim part of this game where you have to choose which girl you like. What makes it weird is that one of the people is a 15-year-old girl who speaks in third person and a cat. Yeah. I said the writing was barbaric, didn't I? Elendia is essentially a hub world, with many NPCs that you're able to talk to and have new dialogue every single time you come back. So if you hate voice acting, you're gonna hate this place because everything is voice acted. Also, whenever you explore, it doesn't waste TP. It also features Mute, the Undine. She can't speak. Hey Fairy, isn't that a little insensitive?
That's just her name, don't look at me.
Oh look, there's Dev, the kid who can't hear. Hey Dev! Oh wait, he can't hear me. Later on in the game, you see Fia and Lena trying to talk to the elder of the city. They want to go to Rosalina Island to find the arcs that have been missing since they traveled there. Since nobody wants to help them, they just sneak off, and since I was there during the time when they transported, they decide to bring him along with them. And then everything officially begins. And since there isn't really anything other than that, and everything else is technically spoilers, I'm just gonna recommend you to play the PSP version or just download an illegal ROM of it.
Papa's chicken.
Okay, this is gonna be the part where we just start hitting into madness, with every single game progressively getting more hard and harder to the point where you just want to die. This is Yggdra, the girl with a literal stone slab for a weapon. She's getting hunted down, but she finds a hideout in these two thieves called Millinor with... what even is that? And Flunky, the person that we never see again. This is mostly an RPG with attack and defense, but did I also tell you that there's card mechanics in this game? Every single battlefield you choose 10 to 12 cards. The number on the card details the amount of moves that you're able to do, not individual movements, total movement. If you run out of cards, then you're basically done. Depending on if they're writing or not, you have a group of 8 to 4 people whenever you attack somebody. There's always a chance for you to knock out the opponent in the beginning of the battle to make them lose morale. What's morale? Basically health. And depending on the power of the cards and how many units survive, it depends on how much damage you deal if you won or not. Also, in every single battlefield, there are hidden items spread throughout. And you're gonna need these items, but I'm just gonna talk about that in a bit. Also, there's a random chance that a boss can also drop an item. So remember in Riviera how you got graded in battles? Same thing goes with here, but the effects are different. Depending on how fast you finish the fight, it also gives you a stat bonus. Also, the fact that you're looking for items and fighting the enemies, and you can see why rarely anybody gets quick time bonuses. Later on in the game, depending on the unit's gender, they radiate squares that can bring more units to assist them. That means that there are going to be more battles after they finish their fight. You or the enemy has weaker members, then that means that the people who are in the beginning of the line have to fight again, but with less people in their battalion. Also, let's talk about the bar. How Department Heaven loves the bar. You can either move left in order to do more damage, but waste the bar, or go right to charge it up and also do a special effect depending on the card. Also, you have to be the first person in the union in order to activate the effect, and you have to have the right matching weapon to correspond with it. Also, when you're charging out the attack, there's a chance for the enemy to also cancel your effect. So just imagine that you accidentally killed the enemy and they didn't give you the item because 1, it's randomized, and 2, they canceled your attack, so you can't even get the item in the first place. Speaking of items, what is the only way to heal? Items. What's the only way to get stronger? Items. Although leveling up does increase your stats, it's only marginally, but using items can actually go up to 3 times the same amount. But you also need to use your items to heal because you need to have enough people to go to the battlefield, and you can't all have them weak because otherwise your team's going to be screwed. And you can't do both of them at once, so you have to choose either to get stronger or to heal. Along the adventure, you're going to be meeting up with the greatest knight, Jailbait, which one of these you don't kill, a housewife, a random archer, a houseman, an abuse victim, and in the PSP version, you can get this character.
No!
Also, you temporarily get these two, but they're just not important. Also, what if I told you that half of these people were optional? So, at the very least, you can have 6 members, while you're versus an entire empire. Also, at the end of the game, you're really gonna feel bad for the empire you're trying to kill. Not because of their motives, but because of how the game turns Yggdra into. See the last 5 episodes of Shiki in order to get an example. But here's 2 in-game examples. So skip to here if you don't want to see this because of spoilers. Okay, so the reason why Yggdra wants to destroy the kingdom is that they took over her, and that they just don't like violent invaders. But then later on, they see that the Undines are trying to kill people because of stuff that they don't know. Later on, when they're about to take over the queen, she remarks that the reason why they're doing this is because somebody stole their transmigrogem, which is the only thing that they have to reproduce and live. So without it, then they're basically just gonna die, and no other things about it. And since Yggdra doesn't really care about that and doesn't have another solution, she basically kills an entire species. And when Yggdra tries to tell Amalone that there's another way to save the kingdom, she remarks that on her way to meeting her, that she killed thousands of Undines, even one of the most loyal ones, and someone who even thought of committing suicide because of their betrayal to the kingdom.
We are fated to die. As their queen, I shall lead the way.
Also, the PSP edition, it has the best voice acting out of these 4 games. Another example shows up way later into the game. The actual civilians stand up to defend themselves while you invade their town. And when Yggdra tries to say that they're trying to surrender, they obviously don't believe it, so they end up fighting, but they're surrenderously weak, leading to the best chapter in this game with these quotes.
We'll never let you take our beloved Bronchia! Now there! Stay out of my way! Kanan, help me. It hurts.
Monica! Don't die on me! You killed them all! Monica! You monsters! We won! Forgive me, Monica. I couldn't avenge you.
Oh yeah, did he also mention that you kill little kids?
What do you got over there? Anyone left?
No. They're probably all dead already. Offense is best defense.
Man, I feel low. That was no battle. It was more like a massacre. None of them knew how to fight.
We do not wish to fight you.
What makes this chapter a little more sad is that the civilians' teams are shockingly similar to yours, even to the point where the leaders even have the same voice actress, and there's even an Undine, even though way past this point they were all about to be extinct. Also, the fact that Yggdra's motivations for even starting this war is because of the invaders turns her into an invader just makes the story 10 times more darker. And because of rumors that the GBA version is much more harder than the PSP version, I recommend you to either play the PSP version, download an illegal ROM, watch Mage Knight 404's playthrough of it where he discussed much more detail about things that it cannot include in this review.
Couldn't get any worse! This couldn't get any worse!
What? What the f- Why live?
Oh yeah, just before we start, I also want to mention that if you have Yggdra Union save data on your PSP, then you're able to play as Yggdra. That doesn't really change anything, but just playing as Yggdra. And oh, there's Pamela! Hi!
Into another soul you go!
Okay, so I tried playing my game. You should probably play it, it's already released. Are you for real? Okay, so I'm just gonna say something right now. You know how in most RPGs the status elements are around 9, where they basically just infect the ally.
This game has over 100 of these.
This is Julio, this is Paulo, and this is Ragnus. After pillaging some people to get some food, they end up finding a woman inside their carriage. After discovering that she's part of a noble lineage, they contemplate trying to put her up for ransom, but then decide to make her useful in trying to feed the army that they're making in order to attack the Empire. Also, I didn't mention Julio's friends because that will be important later. Okay, so this is another one of the grid-based tactic games, with whoever goes first being the one who holds less equipment and less late. So, what if I told you that moving causes fall damage? And when you attack an enemy and they die, there's two things that can happen. One, if you overkill them, then they permanently die, and you can loot everything that they have. Or, if you don't overkill them, then they just retreat and they give you one specific item. Also, there's a chance whenever that you attack somebody that they can counterattack, so you have to choose which formation you want to attack somebody in. And when you level up, you also progress your weapon mastery. What's that? Well, it's basically the same as in Riviera where you get a skill, but your attack actually grows stronger and not your status. There's also bonus chests, elements, and more, like class weaknesses, combo attacks, and tactics points, which basically all it does is just raises your attack. After getting to know the princess, knights start invading in order to find her, and every single hour that they don't come to them, then they will execute a single villager. So they contemplate again about returning her, but end up trying to fight her. And then this scene happens.
I told you not to care for them.
Before Julio dies, a Deus Ex Machina happens, and he gets transported to a different world where he obtains the gun year. And then after they died, you get 4 more places to go. Forces, which is basically just status. Alchemy, that turns unwanted items into money. Guild, where you hire a unit. And camp, which is essentially guild, but some people can join for free. If people are wondering why I'm speeding everything up through rank, it's because progressively the stories become less about the story and more about the gameplay. So if anyone wants to see what I recommend this game, just download an illegal emulator or buy the PSP edition. The PSP edition was the only one that got released, so this is the only one that actually isn't a port. That's not to say that there's no connections in between games. I mean, Marietta is a thing. But if you want my personal ranking for each of these 4 games, well, here. Wheel of Morality, turn, turn, turn. What is the game that I shall learn? No. Wheel of Morality, turn, turn, turn. What is the game that we shall learn? Oh.